Hi, I'm Emily. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, JJ.
Your new record is the first one back in almost a decade, and
hmm
it's produced entirely by you for the first time. What
hmm
was that process like, and why did you do it like that?
yeah, it was just life.
Mm.
Um, they say life is, I heard Gamble Rogers say life is what happens to you while you're making other plans. And this album sort of happened while I was making other plans. And I didn't intend to produce it. It's just COVID got kind of caught in the middle of all that. And it was sort of, if you added up all the time spent making the record, it's probably the least amount of time making a record, but it's just spread out over such a long period because of all the some of the wackiness from all that, but also just life, And I didn't intend for it to take that long. Like I said, I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna do a bunch of demos, which I always do by myself. And then for the first time, I want to make demos with the band in down at gyms without somebody there as a producer or anything. And before I knew it, I like had a record done. I was like, okay, I guess I produced the record. So let me just roll with it like that.
So you're on tour right now, right?
Sort of, yes, yes, yes. I'm on tour till probably early next year, but
Okay.
we just did the first leg, which was kind of ended with the St. Augustine Amphitheater shows of this past weekend. And before that, we did 40 something shows in 50 something days that did most of the east of the United States and a little bit out west of the Mississippi River, not much. And then early next year, we'll do California and do the West Coast. And then we'll go back to Europe and do all the rest of Europe in February. We're going over to Europe in 2 weeks. June 10th, I think I leave. I think we all leave and do we're only over there a week and a half. It's just a quick in and out thing. And then we'll catch the rest of it um next year. My manager and them are letting me know I got an interview. Like, for once I'm here on time.
Is there a venue or city that you are most excited to play or have already played?
Yeah, I think well, it's kind of funny, and I don't say this so I don't uh leave anybody out, but I the only venue I feel like is my favorite place to play is St. Augustine Amphitheater. And I mean, and that includes everything from the Paradiso in Amsterdam, which I love, to Red Rocks, to all of it. But I just love playing here. And we just do it once a year. Uh, but no, I'm looking forward to going back to Europe because I haven't while I haven't put out an album here in 10 years, I haven't toured there in 10, I guess almost 10 years it's been. So I'm looking forward to going back. It's been a minute.
Okay, nice. What's your favorite part about tour?
Um, I kind of like all of it, but I think, obviously playing, but it's more about like just getting lost in an honest moment with the audience. And that's it for me. I don't really care about anything else. Everything else, is it's not immaterial, but it's just secondary to that for me. So um and honestly, if you get in that honest moment and lost in it, then the music plays itself and the show becomes, you know, something else. And then I just want that thing to sort of permeate the rest of my life to where I'm in an honest moment all the time. I know that's impossible. Maybe. Yeah, I know it's impossible for me anyway. But yeah, it's that I think that's the main thing for me.
So the festival that you just played in St. Augustine, can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, so in 2000 something, maybe 9, 10, I can't remember, is the first time I did it. I said, I'd like to do this thing and call it Blackwater Soul Review. And they did it 2 years, and then I quickly realized I wasn't really in the festival business. It wasn't for me. I want to just come and play. It was like, even though there were people there to take care of of the festival itself, it just was like, ah, man, every decision coming to me, I'm like, look, I just want to play, and so I didn't do it. Let's say we did it in 2009 and 10, and then I didn't do it again. And then a couple of years ago, I had a show booked at the St. Augustine Amphitheater, and my manager's like, "Why don't you call it Blackwater Soul Review again?" So I'm like, "All right, let's do it." And so that's what I've been doing every year for the last couple of years. It's now it's kind of turning into a festival. Before it was just a show, and then we would get maybe two openers or something instead of just having one opener. And then now there's like four, including us. Um, I thought, well, maybe there was four bands. Let's see, Anders played, and then G, and then yeah, four including us. So, and then we bumped it to 2 nights, and then Gabe at the amphitheater, he had all kind of great ideas, and him and my manager, and they just ran with it. So yeah, that's kind of how I got going.
Nice. Okay, so back to the new album. What does this record mean to you?
It's a great question, and I have no idea. I just I can't. I don't even hear the record when if I listen to it. It's like looking at yourself in the mirror your whole life. When the morning you're brushing your teeth, you still don't know what you look like. You got an idea of what you look like, but you know what everybody else looks like. There's a veil between, at least in my experience, there's a veil between me and me somehow. And a better example, since it's audio instead of visual, is like if you know, well, it's not so much nowadays. People don't have them as much anymore, but an answering machine, or you hear your voice recorded, like you left a message for somebody or something, and you actually hear your voice, and you're like, that doesn't sound like me. That it's so, and every album feels that way. I kind of can hear it, but I kind of can't. It's like tasting your own food that you cook. It's hard to do. Somehow or another, you go to somebody else's house, you can taste their food, but there's just something between me and me with that. So it that's the same with the meaning. Um, it really ultimately the album is a collection of moments where things just kind of came, and I did my best to remember them, and I did my best to get them down in some way, shape, or form. But I don't really yeah, it it's almost like asking, when I think about it anyway, like what my kids mean to me. It's like more than I can even say. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's hard to couch all that in terms. So
I gotcha, yeah. Do you have a favorite, like a song on the album that's your favorite to play live?
that changes all the time, but um I would say, yeah, I love the opening track of that we've been doing of the show, which is "Old Lusty." But then I love the sea. But then I love "Deeper Than Believe," these moments in the show. And there's a there's we're not going to play the entire album live on tour. We play probably 6 7 songs off of it sometimes, and then intermingle that with about that many or more older songs. At any rate, I will probably start doing some of the other material here soon. So I don't know. It's I always I sound so non-committal, but I mean, I thought that I would have like maybe one or two that stuck out more than the others, but it's not been that way. Happily, because it's not always been that way in the past. And in truth, songs that don't move the needle for me live that I've done that are on some of the records, they just kind of get lost in the in the list of whatever, however many 90 songs, 80 90 songs that I have on records.
So when you walk out on stage, what is that feeling like for you? Like, what is your initial reaction every time you step up on that stage?
Um, it just puts a big smile on my face, and I just um it almost feels like uh an audience pushing you, and they're playing the show with you. The audience is part of the show, and it's almost like working out with somebody that's pushing you to a place you've never been before. And um but a lot more and the only reason it's a lot more is because there's a lot of people doing it at once, so there's all this energy and it just puts a big smile on my face. But honestly too, if you walk out there and you're playing in a theater somewhere and it's dead silent, um I don't know, I just get lost in the moment. I just start, everything softens. The everything inside my vision, inside what I hear, everything just softens, and I don't hear one thing or see one thing. uh I get asked sometimes after show, man, did you see this? Did you see that person do this? Did you see this lady do that? Did you see this guy? I'm like, no, I didn't see anything. It's all just a giant thing of color and energy. And so I just absorb all of it, try to absorb all of it at once rather than and frankly, if I focused on one person, I'm like my dad used to say, you can't chew gum and walk at the same time. So I'll forget lyrics, or I'll probably get lost in a place I don't need to be in my head, maybe even, like if you can be playing to 10,000 people somewheres, and if you saw one person headed toward the exit, you're like, why? You're suddenly thinking about that instead of the 9,900 and some odd people that are still left. You're thinking about your mind will gravitate. It's like Amazon gravitating towards all the negative reviews first before you do anything. So what do they say? Bad news goes around the earth before good news gets its pants on. So it's sort of the same thing with me in a show. So I try to stay out of individuating everything out and just see everything and feel everything at once.
So I grew up in Jacksonville like you did. So I've been to pretty much all the venues in the area. So I wanted to ask you like which one is your favorite? Like I know you said you like performing at the St. Augustine Amphitheater, but I didn't know if there was like a more local venue to Jacksonville that you like.
Yeah, well, my favorite is, and we played it earlier this year for their anniversary. It's Tim Hall's Jackrabbits. I just love kind of I mean, I come up and playing and from like Southern rock, kind of beer swilling, just like where I'm from, bars over to a cross between that and playing punk rock bars. And back in the day, from the Milk Bar to whatever down in Club Five, where Club Five was. There used to be a little punk bar down the street from that, but I like playing those smaller places that are real loud and out of control. And so we did that back in January. 11 pieces on the stage at Jackrabbits. It was fun. And I loved Freebird too when it was here. So there was just and that was just a kind of a mixture of all kind of different places to see music. I like Ponte Vedra Music Hall too. So I can just keep going, but there's something in my heart that and maybe it's just so much more familiar because I spent so many more years playing a smaller stage in a like a punk rock kind of vibe. So I just love those places. And
Yeah,
I love Jackrabbits. I think
yeah, that's one of my
Jackrabbits.
favorites. Okay, so I was curious, where did the name Mofro come from?
So it's what I at first called the, what I was doing. I put the name on it, and me and my buddy Daryl, we were playing together then, and it's what somebody used to call me at work. My buddy, a friend of mine named Donnie, he used to call me that when I come into work. Every once in a while, yo, what's up, mofro? And just he just kept calling me that. So then later on, I was like, well, it sounds Southern, doesn't really mean anything. Um, some people get really analytical about it. It's just like, no, man, it's just like some guy used to nicknaming me that and say that. So, and then years later, my grandmother was uh she's kind of cornered me and asked me why I didn't have my name on my own music. And she's like, you're singing about your family, you're singing about your dad, you're singing about me, you're singing about your grandfather, and you call it mofro. What the hell is mofro? And I'm like, well, it's just, she goes, are you embarrassed of us? And I'm like, no. So it and then she didn't ask me to change it or nothing, but I just did after that. But I had done 2 albums at that point as that. So and then I so then I'm like, well, mofro, that means the whole band's there. So, and if I just say JJ Gray, then it's just me by myself, which I don't do a lot of those. I rather play with the whole band. I just like playing with the band. I love people I get to play with. So, and they're phenomenal. And I can get lost in listening to them sometimes. I did it once or twice over the weekend, forgot that I was supposed to be singing because I was just listening to a solo or something. So,
So I read that you do like all your cover art for your albums, and
mhm.
I wanted to ask about that. Have you always been into art or
Yes, yes. Uh, I'm too lazy to be any good at it, but because if I can't draw it all in like 15 minutes, then I see real artists, they really work on it, in painting and drawing. I never could paint because that's a completely different art than drawing. But so I can't even imagine being like Michelangelo sculpting. It takes who knows how long it took to carve, the David or any of those things. At any rate, that's pretty lofty talking about Michelangelo while we're talking about my little simple cover art. But yeah, uh, I kind of did it out of necessity after the first record. Dan took and used a picture on Blackwater on the first album, and then I just like after touring so much, I noticed I would start getting excited on the way home from wherever, from the West Coast or wherever. Once I start seeing the combination of palm trees, pine trees, oak trees, and cypress trees, I knew those four meant I'm almost home. Even if we start seeing them in Houston, Texas, I know I'm on the I-10 corridor headed home. So that's what led to me drawing the first album cover, and then after that, I just started drawing all of them.
you base like the cover art off of the album, or is it just kind of like
Yeah, yes and no. You know, sometimes it's funny, the cover art inspires a song for the next record. Like I think King Hummingbird is on the album after Orange Blossoms, but there's a hummingbird on the cover of Orange Blossoms, and then so on and so forth. But yes, I'm trying to think. This river is actually, I went and found a picture that somebody had taken from the Fullerwarn Bridge, looking back south on the river towards the shoals and towards you know, just looking down the south part of the river from there. And I just drew the outline of it, on and that song was on the album. I'm trying, and Georgia Warhorse is just old grasshopper. That's yeah, those were for the album. And then uh uh this album had the song Rooster. So literally about a rooster that I had. So or yeah, I guess so. Maybe one or two of them it didn't, but yeah, I think so. The
so yeah.
yeah, sorry.
Outside of like music and art, what else do you like to do in your free time?
Well, I got a garage full of surfboards. I just got to start surfing again. I haven't been as much as I used to go. I love it. I love I love what martial arts. I love what it does to me mentally. I love getting cold checked by people that can humiliate me. Yeah, I'm not a sadist. But I just like being getting checked every once in a while by people who have far greater skill than me, and but in a fun way, and to learn from that. So that's great. And yeah, I'm trying to think of other things. I love working on stuff. I love building stuff. So and I bought a new place, and I'm gonna start working for long to um remodel part of this building to make it a new studio. So yeah, I just love building stuff and working on stuff, fixing stuff. I complain about it all the time, but but I love doing it.
So what got you into music?
It just was. I never. Yeah, I it just happened. Uh, and my sister had little a whole little rack of 45 singles from like the disco era, and so, in the late 70s, mid 70s, all the way into the may touch the early 80s a little bit, Blondie, maybe a 45 of Call Me or whatever, different groups. And I did used to listen to that occasionally in the game room. My sister bought me Gold and Platinum, Leonard Skinner's double album when I was a kid for Christmas, and my parents let me keep it. And my dad had tons of 8 tracks of of Grand Ole Opry and older country music, and he had a box set collection. It was huge that had everything from way back in the 20s all the way up into what was modern country then, like would be like George Jones and Willie Nelson and all that kind of stuff. This was in the 70s. So and then I saw a live band once, well, not once, more than once, but it used to play in Baldwin sometimes at an old a place. In behind my grandfather's trailer park, and then I saw one play at the baseball park one time, and I just really liked it, but I didn't really pursue it till much later.
So did those artists inspire your music, or did you have like certain artists or bands that like kind of inspired your sound or like made you get
Oh,
creative?
well, yeah, there are tons of them. Like my dad had, like Jerry Reed, the song Amos Moses was a huge influence on me and it's a storytelling song and it's swampy and it's funky, but it's country-ish. I mean, because he was a country star, so to speak. He's from the country, that's all. It used to be all it required. But at any rate, it wasn't so much a genre as much as it became a genre. It's funny how uh in retrospect things become genres when at the time there's just music and it's just happening. It's being created by the place, whether it's reggae in Jamaica or country music or the different kinds of jazz, like say from New Orleans sounds, their jazz there sounds completely different than the more the contemporary, of this, you can almost feel the city of New York in the jazz scene in New York back in the day. So at any rate, it's the same for me with the listening to all these different types of music that I grew up with, that my father had and my sister had in their record collection. So it was really, now that I think about it, a while back I kind of got challenged on it and I thought about it. I'm like, really, what I do sound from it kind of is a mixture because of all those different records. So from Hawkshell Hawkins or Jim Reeves crooning to Jerry Reed playing country funk to Leonard Skinner to James Brown, because we had James Brown records as well, to all that. It's just mixed all in there.
Do you have an idea of where you want your music to go, or do you have any like something you want to try or anything out of the ordinary?
Yes, somewhat, but mostly it's dynamically where I want it to go. I'm like, I want something to be lyrically, I let the music, because I almost always, I can't even really think of one song where I wrote the lyrics first. Is I do music, and as I'm doing it, it's just kind of doing itself, and I just kind of go where it leads, and then I record that music, and then I just listen to it for a long time and just hum and sing over it, and then eventually the music will create a visual in my head of this music sounds like this, like the song on the new album, The Sea. The, I played the guitar stuff and then I just listened to it and listened to it and listened to it, and it just kept sounding like the ocean in the at night. With it's what it sounded like. Or On a Breeze sounded like a seagull flying, and or Old Lusty. I did the entire demo um, for the whole song. In fact, we used the guitar stuff that I did on the demo is on the album, and I just, man, this sounds like a forest fire. It just sounds like a fire running from a fire. And I'm like, well, I've done that, or ran to outdistance a fire. I wasn't like, it wasn't right on me, but it was pretty close. My grandfather ran one was right on him. so, so anyway, the music sounds like something, and so I just let that sort of that visual get stuck in my head, and then eventually that's like a seed, and maybe I just kind of wait for the lyrics to happen, because I don't like sitting down like a wordsmith and trying to just make it happen. Um, although there's something to be said for that too, because sometimes when you sit down to make it happen, what you intend to happen doesn't happen, something else happens. It's just getting in there and doing it is sometimes necessary. And so I did try to become a wordsmith, but um it just kind of has to write itself. And uh, usually if I sit down to practice playing an instrument, which I never do really, well, I don't do enough, I should say. When I sit down to practice, I'll wind up writing lyrics for a song that I have, music that I have. And if I sit down to write lyrics, I'll just wind up practicing or noodling. So I guess the moral of that story is I just, when I set out with clear cut plans to do something, it doesn't work out. So I try not to get too caught up in I really want to do this or I really want to do that. Now that said, um, I put orchestra stuff or orchestral stuff on this new album, and I've had it on other albums too, but not to this extent. Normally, I would have like a string section, double up, string quartet, double up. This time we did get a full orchestra to play, and that's because I've been working with a guy in LA who's super cool, Ronan Landa. We've been working together to write a whole book, put together the whole book of maybe 20 songs for 100 to 120 piece orchestra. And then you can always scale down because usually scaling is just how many strings, how big your string section is, or adding in a extra bass players or extra percussionists to cover a couple things. So at any rate, I'm making it scalable because in when I'm get done with this record and the next record, I want to go do a whole symphony tour in um, different different symphony orchestras in different places where my manager's like, I'll put all that together. You just get the music and stuff done. So we worked and created some mocks and it's blown me away. And I'm like, I want this on the album. I'll just do abbreviated version of it. I won't have it like full blown orchestra thing. I'll just pare it down. So anyway, that's one of the things that I'm actually actively like I want it to go here and do this. And then the band will, instead of it being a rock band, so to speak, with an orchestra playing behind them, all the guys and gals, all these people that play with me, they know how to so a lot of them have done it. They've already played with orchestras in an orchestra, so they can just we're gonna all meld into the orchestra together, so to speak. And I'm looking forward to doing that eventually. That's the idea anyway. So we'll see if and when it happens.
What do you want people to take from this album, this new album?
I have no idea. That it's another good question. It's kind of a it's pretty vast, you know what I mean? But I guess uh it just do what it does for me. It's just like a gateway into um just an honest moment with yourself somehow. Whether it's joy, you wake up and the night's over with, or it's introspective, it's all joy to me. It's all light, but even when you're thinking about hard times or something, whatever, so trying to transmute hard times into something else, it's all joy. So it just joy, I guess, because that's what I'm trying to get out of it. That's what I'm getting out of it.
So you just got added to the lineup for Sing Out Loud Festival in St. Augustine, which I assume you're excited for.
Yes,
Okay, so that's
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in
So
September.
I announced it the other night at the gig. They had done worked it out a while back, and I was like super stoked. So I know we're playing at Bourbon and Beyond in Louisville the day before, and we got to jump on a plane and fly in and just run down there and get on stage, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
So I kind of wanted to ask like a fun question. When it comes to music you listen to, like outside of like your own music, are there like any guilty pleasures that you have in terms of like genres or artists that maybe like you don't love to tell people you listen to?
Um,
Anything funny?
Yeah, let me think. Yeah, because something did come to mind. Well, it's not a guilty pleasure because I'm happy to talk about it, but I think it shocks people. And if I tell them that I love the Dead Kennedys, you know, the punk rock band from back in the day, headed by a guy named Jello Biafra. But that's just one. But uh and I think people would be I really I kind of like some old school, really I don't know what you want to call it, 70s pop music. Some of it's like, whoa, that's nasty, but some of it is like Telephone Man, the song Telephone Man. It's so silly and goofy. Oh, and I'll tell you another one too. I love I'm Too Sexy for My Shirt Right. Is it Right Said Fred? Yeah, I love that song, man.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. So now that one makes me laugh every time, especially the video. He walks out on the catwalk. I love it. So,
Is there anything else you'd like to share about the album that we haven't touched on or
no, no, that's it. It's yeah, it's there and yeah. Out here playing it and enjoying it.
yeah. So you got a couple more months left of tour and then what's the plan after that?
Maybe to do another record. I don't know. I'll see where I'm at musically. I've already got I did 20 something songs or about 20 songs for this album, and then I think I can't remember 11 maybe made it. So I almost have enough for another whole album. And I was really happy with a lot of those songs. They just didn't fit the vibe of the whole record. That's why they didn't. Or I just ran with the first 11 that I could get lyrics to and finally finished singing because the music was done month or not months. Some of the music was recorded in 2016. So it was just me being lazy and taking forever to get the lyrics done. And then when I got the lyrics done, then I could get to singing. So um now maybe I'll go back to these other nine and finish because I got a bunch of lyrics to finish on those too and see where I'm at. I might have enough for another record already.
Nice. All right. Well, I want to say thank you for talking with me today. This has been really fun, but yeah, that's about all I've got.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you and good luck on the rest of your tour and I look forward to seeing what you do.
Cool. Thank you.